Okay, so please, can you hear me? Anybody can hear me? Please let me know.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, great. So I was saying that my name is Temilola. I'm comms executive at Ingressive for Good, and I'll introduce our guests, and then every other person can introduce themselves. So our guest today is Dolapo Akinbisola. He's the country head of SmartComply. SmartComply is a cybersecurity compliance platform, and he's also the former strategic partnerships and growth manager at Fuzu, which is HR tech platform. So thank you so much, Dolapo, for being here. Funnily enough, we just launched our cybersecurity scholarship program. So yes, thank you so much for being here. Do you want to add anything else before we go to the next person?
Okay, Timmy, so you want me to say something about myself?
Yes, please, we'd like to.
No, I mean, you said you said what is okay. Yeah, I mean, just like Jackie said, I'm actually passionate about human capital development. Interestingly, you find me in the tech space. I've been in the tech space for about 7 years.
Wow.
Work experience of about 11 years now, and I'm very passionate about how to navigate their career, really, because myself, I've journeyed through different. I mean, my career journey is very interesting. So I'm always very interested in conversations, about how young people particularly can, find themselves and navigate the workplace, really. So pleased to be here. I really hope that we'll have a great time today.
Yes, we definitely will. Thank you so much for being here and for being here in time. So we go to Dolapo Lawal.
Hi, everyone. Hi, nice to have you, Dolapo. At the Dolapo Lawal, Programs Associate at Ingressive for Good. I work with Anifa, who is the Programs and Community Manager, to manage all our programs and our alumni community, basically. So yeah, looking forward, because in a way, I feel like I would also like learn a lot of things from navigating the job market, career-wise for me. So I'm really, really excited about this webinar, and I'm looking forward to learning from you, Dolapo.
Thank you, Dolapo. So we go to Macaulay Emmanuel. Hi, Emmanuel. If you can hear me, just can introduce yourself. Okay, I don't think you can hear. Probably next one. All right. So well, instead of waiting for other people, because time is going, Dolapo, we think we can just start the webinar. The good thing is that it's recorded, so they can always catch up. But I'm sure they will join us as we go on, so that we can have an interactive session. But Dolapo, you can start now. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Again, it's a pleasure being here. And interestingly, I really wanted to take a different approach to doing this. You might be used to people doing presentations, having a lot to say. I actually wanted to make it very practical and, as much as possible, make it a very interactive session, in the sense that I understand that a number of young people probably have questions. I'm still very young anyway, so when I'm saying young people, I'm not I'm not one old man, right? But I understand that a number of people have a lot of questions on their mind, that they need to, that they want to be answered, right? Especially either you're just starting out or you're a few years in. I believe that everybody on this call probably has a question about, progressing in their career. Either they have some blockers at this moment, or they're finding it difficult, or they want to move to the next job, and it's not happening, or even trying to understand how to behave in the workplace, especially understanding the times that we are in and all of that, how can you find career fulfillment and all of that. I intended that it's going to be more of a question, open floor, let me have questions, any question, on anyone's heart, with respect to their career, and then I will use those questions to then speak. But since we don't have a full house, I'll just take a few points, and hopefully before we exhaust that, we have a number of the guys on the call, and then I can then leverage that approach. But one thing I really want to say is that getting a job is actually a job. I remembered in 2010, I think, I saw this book by Arusa Osamwige. I think he should be a director at maybe, I can't remember now. But then he had this, he wrote this book, and the title of the book was Getting a Job is a Job. I remember I read that book from cover to cover, then I just finished from university then. So it was important for me to really have that kind of information, and it really, really, showed me, how to go about this. So I think that's the first thing I would say, that getting a job is actually a serious matter, and not just getting a job, getting the right job, really. I mean, there are jobs everywhere, but one needs to ensure that whatever job you're having, you can find the expression. I think that's really the critical thing. And so it's important that we understand how to go about this. I also understand from my interaction with Temilola, I think, that a number of people on the call have been trained, in one way or the other. Probably you have some things around your CV and all of that. So I won't say so much about CV, but just give me a second. Let me just speak to what I have really, really highlighted. So number one is that you need to, first of all, identify your career goals. What exactly do you want to see yourself? I mean, it sounds like a very old habit, but it is very important, especially for people who are just starting out. You need to be very clear about your objectives, your goal as a young person. What kind of job do you want to do? What kind of role do you want to play? What kind of organization? I mean, you should even deep dive to that, that level of detail. So what kind of organization do you want to work in? What really matters to you as an individual? I believe that is, maybe the most important part or process or decision that you have to make as a young person looking to either start or looking to grow in your career. You have to first of all define that. What exactly, are you about? What exactly do you think will be your career objective? And you can set these goals and objectives, you can put it to different timelines. You can say, okay, this is who I am right now. This is where I want to be in the next 3 years. This is where I want to be in the next 5 years. This is where I want to be in the next 10 years. I mean, all of that just puts a perspective to where you're going, gives you a direction, really. So I think that's really the most critical thing, actually. So decisions like, do I want, we are very different in our composition as humans, and that also determines what is interesting to you. So what's interesting to Timmy, for instance, might not be interesting to me. You probably like an organization where everything is structured, you like a place where there are templates for almost everything, everything is done, a company that has existed for over 1,000 years, and so everything is very detailed and all that, maybe because that's your kind of person. While I might be someone who likes a very chaotic environment. When I say chaotic, I don't mean toxic. So those two things are very different. But there are some people who thrive well in a very small organization where, I'm wearing different hats, where we're always, putting out fires, and some people like that adrenaline, right? So you need to first of all define that. And of course, it also even helps you in defining your choice, your career choice, what you want to do, the kind of role you actually seek and all of that. So I think that's my first point. My second point would then be about, defining yourself. So I've talked about define your goals. Now defining yourself. So reflecting on your skills, your interests, your values, your personality traits, right? Because that also then helps you to be able to put yourself, in the right place, in the right career, So I don't know if you've done a personality test before. Maybe you can just raise your hand somewhere. You can just signify in the chat box so that I can just have that understanding. If you've done a personality test before at any point in time, you probably may just want to signify so that I can know. Okay, then I want to share something as well. I'll just drop the link in the chat now. For those who have not done a personality test, you may want to also do that. Okay, fantastic, Dolapo. All right. So if you've not done that, I've dropped a link where you probably might want to do that because it just helps you understand who you are. It gives you an idea of, your person. Yeah, Timmy, thanks so much. It gives you an idea of your personality, and it also helps you to identify what kind of environment you probably would thrive better, right? So that link is there. You can take that link, and there are different personality tests where you can really understand who you are really. So I think that's also very important. You need to find yourself. Do this as early as possible in your life because it helps you to, not waste your time and beat about the bush, especially with respect to your career choices. The number 3 thing I'll then speak about is about building your professional network. It's also very, very important. I used to be a manager at Fuzu. So maybe to just give a context, Fuzu is an HR technology company that came into Nigeria some few years ago. I think 2020, launched in 2021. So I was one of the first guys in Nigeria. It's a company based in Finland. And so I was one of the leading guys in Nigeria. And in the course of my work in Fuzu, I figured out that number one, there are a lot of jobs. I know I might be contradicting what you know, but there are a lot of jobs around in the country, to be very honest. I remember that we have an average of say 200 roles every month. And at that time, we were still very, very new in the country. So you can imagine an average of 200, what am I saying? I personally am responsible for about 200 roles. So an average of about 400 to 600 roles every month. And that's just one platform and several platforms. So you can imagine the number of roles that are available. I also understand that because we do a lot of data analysis to understand, what's going on. I also then understand that one big challenge that I've also seen is that, I mean, there are a lot of roles, but there are few people who have the capacity to fill those roles. I remember we had a number of jobs that at times for 3 months, we are still looking for the right candidate. I mean, you do a lot of interviews and all of that, and you really can't pick the right person. I mean, there are roles that go as long as 6 months. We have not been able to fill that role. And that's just because we figure out that a lot of Nigerians are actually very underskilled. So I just wanted to drop that here so that we can also have that information at the back of our hands while I still speak to this. Now, another thing I also have been able to figure out is that the quickest way to get a job is actually through referral. And this is, I want to say it's a law, but it's the reality everywhere, every part of the world. As a country head, for instance, in Nigeria, if I really want to fill a role, most likely I will pick someone who was recommended to me by someone I trust than going through the general route of putting a job post, having CVs to analyze and all of that. And that means that it's very important that we begin to intentionally build a corporate profile, build your professional network. And I will just speak to 1 or 2 ways in which we can do that. I want to do this for 30 minutes so that then the next 30 or 15, 20 minutes will just be me responding to questions that anybody can have. I mean, very direct, personal, questions that affect you with respect to looking for a job or your career. And then because I really want to ensure that by the time we are done here, someone who has a question on his or her heart has it really answered. That would be my joy, right? So build your professional network, very important. As a graduate, you may not have, or a recent job seeker, you may not have a vast network of professional contacts, but there are different ways you can build your network. Number one is attend industry events, conferences, meetups, fireside chats, and all of these things that happen in your desired field. So for instance, I want to be a programmer. One of the quickest way to to build my network in that space and even land the real, the kind of job that I really want is to be a part of networks. Thankfully, because of technology today, there are a lot of channels, WhatsApp group, Telegrams, Slack channels, that you can join and, just put yourself in the space around people who are doing exactly the same thing you're doing. It's a very good way. So you cannot afford to stay inside. As much as possible, attend events that are tailored towards your space. And when you attend those events, make sure to, before you go back home, at least take 1 or 2 people's numbers, right? Or just strike a conversation with someone and, get their name. And when you get back home, go follow them on LinkedIn and, message them, oh, XYZ, we met at this event. So it's great talking to you. Or we spoke about this. Just introduce yourself. And you never know how much impression you've made in that person's mind. And when there's a role that really speaks to your skill set, there's every chance that person will be remembered, will remember your conversation with them. So that is one very critical thing. For those in industry or professions where there are professional bodies, say for instance you're a lawyer, you're a quantity surveyor, you're an accountant, and those professional people, make sure that you attend. You are a member of that professional body, right? So MBA, the ICANNs, the NSEs, and all of that. Make sure you're a part of those events. Those professional body, I attend their network events, CIPM in HR space. Ensure you join those kind of association and make sure as much as possible you have conversations, with people in that space. It's also very important. Another thing about building your network is your alumni. I mean, every one of us here finished from one university or one secondary school. So it's also good to connect with your alumni body, I mean, just be a part of the body, have conversations with people. When you need people to do stuff, volunteer. I'll speak about volunteering more later because it is very, 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 very important. As in, it's a game changer for anyone. So that's another thing that you can do. Another thing you can do also is volunteering, which brings me back to what I was saying earlier. Volunteering could be for a non-profit, it could be for even a for-profit organization. Volunteering, what it does to you is that it puts you in a corporate space. It gives you a corporate experience, and it helps you to build it helps to build your resume, really. It helps you to build a work experience, right? Especially for guys who are just leaving school or maybe in their first 2-3 years. It's very good to again, it helps to build capacity, so you may not have a job, but you've already built capacity because you are always volunteering, right? So different bodies, different associations, you can always volunteer. Apart from it gives you connection to people, it also helps you to own your skills, right? I mean, I've been a volunteer in a number of foundations. Some I've spearheaded the projects myself. And those are really places where I really learned a lot about, working in a corporate space, and a lot of things I actually knew started from there. So volunteer. Another thing that I think is important is that, let me speak about LinkedIn a little. Now, every serious professional person is on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn and you're on this call, I would advise that after this call, you go on LinkedIn, www.linkedin.com, you sign up, create an account, upload your profile picture and all of that. I mean, this is not a LinkedIn session, so I don't need to go into those details, but LinkedIn is very important. It's a very critical, important tool where you can connect with professionals. And it's a very simple thing. How do you connect with people on LinkedIn? Simple. Connect and request for connections. It's as simple as that. So I look at Dolapo, I know where she works. I like her organization. I probably like to work in the organization. Simple thing. Go to that organization you really like to work in, get there, follow everybody. I mean, request for connection from everybody that matters in that organization. What happens when you do that is that every time you have something or you write something or that person posts something, you get visibility, you see it. Every time you write something, if someone has connected with you, that person also gets to see what you write. And by that, you're putting yourself out there. People are beginning to see you more. So it's very important. I mean, you can do that intentionally. Get on LinkedIn, follow people that you really want, follow organizations, and put yourself out there, write posts, write about things that are interesting to you, especially with respect to your profession. And it just does magic. I mean, I've had several job offers on LinkedIn. Some I've turned down, some I've taken a step further by interviewing. And it's been very interesting, honestly. That was a period I had, it was like, there was just a spotlight on me. I had a number of requests, people asking me I like your profile, I like you to work for us, I like your profile, and all of that. So LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. Please try to leverage LinkedIn very well. For those of you who are in the tech space, important for you to also have a professional profile, have a portfolio. That's what I mean. So you're a product designer, for instance, or a software developer. It's very important that you have a portfolio. I mean, you can build that either using Notion or any of these smart tools, GitHub and all of that. It's very good to have a portfolio that just showcase your work, right? So if you're UI UX designer, it's very good to have a portfolio or a product manager, like that. I mean, it just puts you in a very good light and shows that you're really serious, and it helps people to really, at a glance, really understand what you're doing and what you've done, really. Especially if you've not had a job, and all you've done really is just a training from Ingressive for Capital or Ingressive for Good. It's very good that you have a portfolio, because with that, you're able to just document and highlight and showcase projects you've worked on. Again, that gets really convincing to someone who really wants to hire you. Even though you don't have an experience, they can see what you've worked on, products you've designed, programs you've built and all of that. And then it just makes it more convincing to give you a shot. I think I'll move to the next thing, which is about your resume. I know you guys have had a training on resume, but please, your resume is as important as your skill. I used to say that your resume is you in proxy. So a recruiter, for instance, most likely will not see you first, but they will see your resume. So the better your resume is, the better the chance you're going to get a job, or you're going to get the job you want. So ensure that your resume is top notch, is saying the right things about you. I know there are a lot of redundancy about the kind of information you put out there, and I believe that in the training you've had with Ingressive, those critical points have been highlighted. But your resume is very, very, very important. You start by showcasing your work, right? Let me say this, please, on your resume, you don't need to put your local government, your religion, your position in your family and all of those things. I've seen very ridiculous CVs. It's not important. Just go straight to the point. The critical thing about you, your skill set, your certifications, for instance, your work experience in the order of the last one you've done to the further down. So you make it chronological, starting from the most recent. And more importantly, depending on the job you're applying for, ensure that your resume speaks more to the role you're applying for. So you can always edit your resume to really reflect your fit for the particular role you're looking for. I think that's what I would just say with respect to your resume, but it's very important. Also, you can also have your cover letter, on the side. Now, a cover letter is simply a summary of who you are. In your cover letter, what you're trying to show is what you've done, why you are the best fit for that organization, and basically why they should consider you. That's all. It doesn't have to be wordy or lengthy. The 3-paragraph statement is enough, right? But cover letter is as important as your resume as well. What's the last thing? Because like I said, I really want us to really speak. Then another important thing is that you also have to prepare for job interviews, right? So don't apply for jobs mindlessly. I see that a lot. People just apply for roles just because they need a job. They just apply for just anything. As much as possible, be very intentional about your application. Prepare for job interview. When you have an interview scheduled, please research about the company, understand the roles. You can even go to Glassdoor to even understand how much that particular company pay for that role, so that you don't undervalue yourself. Understand the role, understand their values, understand their mission, understand their expectations. If it's possible, you can even connect with someone who probably held that role before you, just to ask a few questions. You might not always get a yes, but it's worth try. Prepare answers. I mean, you can also prepare the kind. I mean, just picture what kind of questions that could be asked you an interview at your interview, and then try to prepare answers. So typical question that you have is, tell us about yourself. Now, when you have that question, it's not for you to start talking about who you are, your family, where you are from. I mean, people don't really care. What they care for at that point in time is really about what you've done before, your personality. You want to emphasize your personality. And like I said, you have done your research about the organization to understand what kind of personality profile they actually like. And so you position yourself to be the right kind of personality needed for that role. Speak a lot more about what you've done before and what you can bring to the table. And I think that's really very important, and can always land you the right kind of job. If you have to attend an interview via the internet, I would advise that you dress appropriately. Make sure your room is bright enough. Prepare for power. Make sure you have very good internet connection. It doesn't speak well if you're on a call and your internet goes off or is not clear enough, or where you are is noisy or is not well lit, all of those kind of things. So prepare properly. Make sure you're on the call before the interviewer. It's bad practice to have an interview and then they're on the call and then you're just you're nowhere to be found. So make sure you are there early. Same if it's a physical interview, make sure you dress corporately, regardless of their company culture. If it's your first interview, dress corporately, look good, smell nice. And there's something about poise and posture, sit properly. If you're a guy, sit while you're waiting in the lobby, sit properly, sit up, cross your leg, and put a smile on your face. Those things are very important. Yeah. So prepare for your job interview. Be confident, show enthusiasm about the organization, and show that you're someone that they really need, and they will really feel bad if they don't get you on the job. I mean, that's also very important. And then the last thing will be about negotiating your job offer. Don't be unnecessarily, what's the word now? Ridiculous, yes. Don't be unnecessarily ridiculous when you're asked about your compensation, your remuneration. Like I said, do a research about the organization. There is Glassdoor who really does that today. Like I said earlier, you can also research the industry, find out what is the typical pay for this level, for this role, for this kind of organization. Don't go over the board, but don't underprice yourself as well, right? So do your research, understand what they need, and then put your position out there when that kind of question arises. Now, remember when I started, I talked about identifying yourself and your career goal. Now, this plays a big role in negotiating your offer, right? So if having a very good work-life balance is important to you, you might also have a role to play in your final negotiation call. You also want to understand what the organization is about. Do they have vacation time? Do they have flexible work arrangements? What are the other benefits that comes with the job? And all of that. Those things are very important. Practice negotiation skills. Try to learn how to negotiate. It's not a crime to name your price and decline an offer, right? If it's not if it doesn't fit into your goals or your aspiration. I mean, learn to always negotiate properly. And while you are doing that, also be very respectful and professional, and as much as possible, communicate your value. Yes, I think Sian or Sean, I don't know. I think, yeah, Glassdoor does, maybe for tech companies. I think Glassdoor give figures for some companies in Nigeria. Yeah, I think that happens. Okay, I think like I said when we started, I would like to make this very, very interactive. So I think I've spoken enough, and I would really like to just throw the floor open. Please ask any question with respect to your job search. Are there challenges you're facing? Are there things you're doing consistently and it's not giving you results? This is the time for you to talk to me. I will, as much as possible, within the best of my ability, try to respond and prefer solutions on how I think you can go about getting there. Thank you very much, everyone, and thanks, Timmy. Yes.
Hello, thank you so much, Dolapo, for your session. That was really insightful. You spoke on key things that we did need to consider. Okay, Sean is asking, I'd like to hear more about how to prepare for an interview. Are there 2 to 3 goals to achieve or focus on during the interview?
Okay, Sean, thanks so much. Again, your preparation for an interview is dependent on what stage you are at that interview, right? Let me give you an arc, and Sean, I've done it in recent times and it has worked. Okay, so recently, I work for a Canadian company, right? I've worked for foreign companies for my last 2 roles. Actually, I've not been, I've been for companies outside of the country. Recently, that should be like maybe 2-3 months ago, I had a call. Someone reached out to me. It's one of these venture capital firms in Canada, Canada and USA, and reached out to me and, hey, Dolapo, I like your profile. Come get on a call and all of that. Okay, no problem, let's do this. And then we had a call. I did something that really blew the guy's mind, and this is my advice to you, to everyone, is an arc. If it's possible for you, prepare a slide for your interview. On your slide, talk about yourself, talk about the organization, talk about what you want to contribute, and you can give them more like a milestone. Say in the first 3 months, this is what I will have done. See, that thing blows the mind of any recruiter. I didn't get a job, not because I wasn't a good fit. I didn't get it because I'm in Nigeria. That was the only reason. They needed someone who was in America at that point in time. And I've done this not just once, not just twice. And it works every time. I'm telling you. If you try it in the next job, you can reach out to me through Temi to tell me what the result was. Right. So let me go back to how to prepare for it. So, like I said, depending on the stage of the interview, if it's your first time, basically all you need to do is what you want to find out. The purpose of that interview at that point in time is to prove that you have the competence. That's what they want to know at that point. The first call for an interview is really to find out your competence. How fit is this person for the role? That's usually first. So what you want to do on that call is to prove that you are more than capable to deliver on that role. So what you want to push forward is your competence, your skills, the jobs you've done before, the product you've been, if you are a product person, for instance, the products you've worked on, how your contribution to the products or the organization you work in, how does try as much as possible to quantify your contribution. So as a salesperson, I did this for this company and revenue moved from 1 million to 5 million. Anybody wants to hear that, right? As a product person, as a community manager of XYZ company, I grew the community from 3,000 to 10,000. That would blow anybody's mind. Or as a social media manager, I grew LinkedIn community user for XYZ company from 20 users to 500 or to 3K. Social media, Twitter grew from this. So on that first call, you want to eat the bullseye. You're eating the point, you're selling yourself because you have a very short time. You want to prove competence. So I hope that answers your call. So that's really what it is. Most likely, second call is where they're not trying to define culture fit. Either, your personality, how the energy you give, matches what they give in the organization. At that time, is really as good as in. And usually that's when you also talk about money. On your first call, you want to put yourself out there and you want to ask enough questions about the organization you are joining. Okay, are interviews for jobs different for local or foreign companies? Okay, yeah. Again, it depends on the kind of company. No, it's okay, Sean. I appreciate. It depends on the kind of company, really. If you are being interviewed for a traditional, that's why I said when I said understand the company, understand yourself, understand your goals, define the kind of company you want to work with, because that also determines how you then prepare for the kind of jobs you want to apply for. So for very traditional Nigerian company, you have to be very, very traditional, right? In those kind of organizations, there's a lot of structure. Emphasis is on structure, is on you fitting into a system. So you have to position yourself as someone who really can do that. So you want to position yourself as someone who can work under pressure, someone who can work with a team, someone who can work under someone, if it's a physical interview, you want to dress, very, very smart because it's very, very important. But if it's a Gen Z company, you know what I mean, a tech company, they probably don't care. They just want to be sure that you have competence. You understand? So the kind of conversation you have on interview might be very, very different. I can say that as much as possible, it's getting a little better. It's getting, different in Nigeria as well. A lot of HR, a number of HR groups, and there is intentionality in the conversation on how, interviews should go, while they should make it really interactive, not the usual. When I started looking for a job, it was always tense. You go to an interview, you see like 10 people, you're freezing already, that kind of thing. So yes, in a way, it could be very different, but particularly for the tech firms in Nigeria, is usually very chill and, really just proof competence, really. Yeah. I don't know if anyone else has any question. Okay, Sean is taking the floor for today. He's asking that, do I see any cultural difference between local? Absolutely. Absolutely, there are cultural differences. So let me give you an instance. At Fuzu is a place where I worked where there is no sir, there is no ma, and you most likely will find that in foreign company. Nobody cares who you are. Nobody cares what your age is. There is no sir, no ma. The way we do things in Nigeria is really chill. There's usually open doors, right? The CEO who works from Helsinki is just a Slack away, right? I don't need to do anything seriously to reach him. I just Slack him. Hey, you see this. I'm thinking about this. Can we add this? And it's listening to me, right? You might not have that in Nigerian system. We are so big on respect and all of those things. So yeah, there's a lot of cultural difference in foreign and local companies. A lot, but it's getting that line is getting blurry because again, many of us are people like me, for instance, in my organization, nobody calls me sir. Don't call me Mr. The first day I joined, I told them, don't call me Mr. Dolapo. I don't want to hear that. Call me by my first name. Because one of the things I've figured out is that just that alone, breaks a lot of barriers. It makes people open up to you. When there is challenge or when they have ideas, they come to you because they know that they can easily assess you, right? And you find out a lot in foreign companies, and you don't get that in most companies here. Yeah.
That's true. Thank you so much, Dolapo, for such an interesting session. Sean is actually one of our co-founders at Ingressive for Good. I don't know if you know that.
Hey, Sean. Oh, thanks. Oh, I see what he's doing there. So he's asking a question that people won't want to ask. Thanks so much. Yeah, thank you. Great.
Thank you so much, Dolapo. I dropped off at some point. My network was really bad, so it kind of like cut me off. But I was able to gain some things from this session, and I'm sure that other people were also able to learn. I just want to say thank you so much for taking our time to do this with us and educating our community. I also love that you spoke about LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is it's such a great tool, right, for anybody to get a job. And speaking of LinkedIn, we have a LinkedIn checklist that we would share on the alumni community group, Telegram group, right? So people can download it and make use of that to start optimizing their LinkedIn accounts. And then we also have a CV writing ebook that's also going to be useful. I mean, if you're searching for a job, one of the most important things that you need is a CV. And we have a CV writing ebook. I will also share the link with, for that on the Telegram group so people can download it. But this session was really amazing, Dolapo. I'm so glad that it's even recorded and we could always come back to watch it. Thank you so much for doing this with us. Does anybody want to say anything before we wrap up? Dolapo, do you want to say anything before we wrap up? Any final words for our alumni community?
Okay, I mean, if you ask me, maybe nothing more. I just want to appreciate the time, to speak with you guys. And I really must say, Sean, you guys are doing a great work. When Timmy reached out to me, she was trying to ask if I know about you guys. And I'm like, excuse me, I know you guys very well. So,
that's nice.
I used to work at a startup, so we did a lot of work around, supporting social impact and that space. So I know, as of then, I knew a lot about Ingressive. Yeah. So it's been good to be here. If there's anything I would say is that for the community, you guys, Africa is really banking on us, right, to bring the transformation that we need. And we can't relent, right? We need to keep grinding, keep upskilling, and keep putting ourselves out there. One other thing I would say is, in all of your looking for the next opportunity, don't undersell yourself. Please don't undersell yourself. Particularly your first job. Your first job is very important. If you miss it with your first job, it might take you a lot of years to cover for that ground, because number one, you most likely be if you are in a place where you are undervalued, it might affect how you value yourself in the future. If you're in a place where the environment is very toxic, it might affect your mental health, your mental state, and then it makes you really not take yourself seriously, and it will affect how you value yourself in terms of quality now, right, in the future. So take your time. Like I said, research, define what you want, know the kind of job you want, and begin to go for those kind of companies. One last thing, there are a lot of jobs in Nigeria. Most of the time, they didn't just have the right people. And I think I can drop the anchor from here.
Thank you so much, Dolapo, for that. I love what you said about not selling yourself short. That's so important, especially on the first job. A lot of people do that. I think I even did that too when I started, right? So you just want that opportunity and you sell yourself short. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. This was such an amazing session. So we'll be ending this, closing this now. So you can go online, go on Twitter and tweet something that you have learned from this session and tag us at Ingressive for Good. You can also tag Dolapo at Dolapo Omotoye, right, on Twitter, right, just so that people can see that you're eating good at I4G. Thank you so much, Dolapo, for being here. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Sean, for participating. This is great. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.
Yeah, have a good one. Thank you again, Dolapo. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.